Howdy folks, good noon time. Here's a second video log for today. Still over at the Minnesota Scrub Preserve, but I wanted to showcase another particular native tree that's found in Florida. This tree that I'm about to discuss usually prefers areas that are somewhat marshy and have plenty of water nearby. In this case, we actually do. We've got some water right over here. So, this is the particular tree that I wanted to show you guys. As you can tell, the bark is covered in lichens, and for those of you who don't know what lichens are, they're actually an organism that is associated with a symbiotic relationship between algae and cyanobacteria, as a matter of fact, for those of you who did not know. So it's quite a remarkable type of organism, and they really help indicate the air quality of a given area. The more lichens you have, the better the air quality is, and then vice versa. And it's often opposite. The less lichens you find, the more pollutants are in the air. But aside from that point, this tree is actually a type of holly. Specifically, it is called a Dahoon Holly. And what's particularly fascinating about the Dahoon Holly is they produce these reddish berries on them, as you can see. And oftentimes, the leaves are a bit kind of like an oval shape, and they kind of have like a waxy texture, excuse me, couldn't say that word for a second. And it has a smooth edge, and you figure the berry is probably about the size of a pea. And you might be wondering, are they really edible? Well, oftentimes it's believed that some believe that they are, some believe that they aren't. So really, if that's the case, if there's like uncertainty, it's just best to just stay away from it, unless absolutely necessary. But oftentimes, it's our wildlife, our fellow homies, that feed on these, particularly the American robin, as a matter of fact, in which, of course, they migrate southwards as it approaches towards winter. So they'll oftentimes feed on these. Now, what's also fascinating about the Dahoon Holly is some people actually do use it for Christmas celebration. However, though, it's not as popular as like that's of the American holly, for example. And what's actually fascinating about the Dahoon holly is with other species of holly, usually most of the time the leaves are a bit more spikier and have more points on them. But unlike the Dahoon holly, it's a bit different. As I mentioned, it's more of an oval shape. So, what can you do? But as I've said, sometimes they actually are still used for Christmas celebration. Now, another fascinating fact about this plant is it's also dioecious, which, for those of you who don't know what that means, it really describes two separate plants that have two separate genders. So like one holly might be a male, and another will be a female of the same species. But in this case, since we're actually seeing the berries, this is a female. Because unlike with the male, you won't see these berries at all. And oftentimes, the males and the females, they have to be near each other, since that's what makes the reproduction possible. And oftentimes, a distinguishing factor for you to really tell the difference between a male and a female, you'd really have to see it a bit earlier in the season, especially in the spring. Oftentimes, the males, their flowers are a bit more clustered together and produce these greenish white flowers. But like with the females, they are a bit more white, and the flowers don't really form clusters. They're a bit more isolated. So those are some key differences to note if you really want to tell the difference between the two. But yes, this is one of the many species of holly, and this is in fact native to Florida. So this holly does not pose a threat to this ecosystem. So yeah, these are good. These are valuable, and they don't pose a threat. But yeah, and actually, just a little bit ago, I was looking up in the pines, and I actually saw a pileated woodpecker. It's actually really cool, by the way. And for those of you who don't know about the pileated woodpecker, it's actually one of the largest woodpeckers in the world. And with that being said, they have been found, I mean, they have a wide distribution, you know, because of course I've commonly seen them when I was living up in Ohio. So they just, what the, oh, my bad. I stepped on a wild grapevine, because they spread their vines quite easily, so I nearly tripped. Whoops. But yeah, I gotta say, I mean, it's not as scenic as some other preserves that I've been to, but here you have plenty of opportunities to learn more about the native flora that is in the state of Florida. I mean, they called this place Florida for a reason. The Spanish settlers. Florida actually, in a sense, means flower. So it it makes sense. Yeah. Huh. Forgive me, I thought I saw something a bit unusual, but nope. So alright, you guys. Hope you enjoyed this snippet and got something out of it. And yeah, hope you learned something of value regarding the Dahoon Holly. I'm sure some of you have seen them on some of your separate hikes. So I hope I've helped provide some insight as to what that plant is and what it provides. So alright, you guys. Hope you enjoy your wacky Wednesday. And once again, learning on a journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.